evening, everyone. I am Carl Brewster, a leader here with Godward Ministries, where our pastors are George and Shelly Ann Watson. Our mission statement is choosing God over the devil at all times, going God's way as a church in our way of life. Also, our vision statement is to inspire people to go Godward for the perfecting of the saints and for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Christ. Thank you all for joining us tonight. This is Testimony Tuesday. First, I'd like to thank everyone who joined us last week for my first testimony. I thank you for joining us, for liking and sharing, and I really appreciate all the encouraging words that a lot of you sent me. I thank you. But tonight, I have the awesome opportunity to present to some and introduce to many others my friend, my cousin, my prayer partner, Oneshia Edens. Many of you may know her as the lovely Big O. She's a Christian comedian here in Greenville, South Carolina, who travels all over the world. She's been international and state to state. She's been everywhere. So tonight she will give you her testimony. Thank you so much for joining us. The next voice you will hear will be Oneshia Edens, the lovely Big O.
Hey everyone, it's Oneshia Edens, also known as Lovely Big O, and you're joining Testimony Tuesday. I am so honored and so grateful to be asked by Brother Carl Brewster, as you know him. That's my cousin. He has asked me to come and give my testimony as to why they call me the Lovely Big O. Laugh until the pain is gone. First of all, I've got to give honor to God, because without him, we ain't nothing. You already know that. Second of all, listen, pastor, bishop, doctor, reverend, deacon, choir member, George and Miss Shelly Ann Watson, I love y'all. Thank y'all so much for having me. And thank you for my edible arrangement, because baby, I'm going to eat myself to sleep while I'm rubbing my feet, because you done had me up all night trying to think of what I'm supposed to say. And once I turned it over to God, guess what he told me? He said, keyword, rejection. That is what Laugh Until the Pain was birthed from. Rejection. Now, most of you already know me, and for those that don't know me, I am a radio personality, I am a single parent, and I'm a mom of one handsome, amazing son who graduated last year from the University of Southern California with honors. He is a professional dancer. So he, not the kind of professional dancer y'all thinking about. See, I already know. See, you can't fool me. Not that kind. He ain't no Chippendale, okay? But he does dance. He does great. But, and I'm also a comedian, a clean Christian comedian, who can sometimes get out of pocket. I've been doing comedy now since 2004. This comedy was actually birthed out of a ministry of me just being me. And I think sometimes people are like, well, I love Lovely Big O. Well, honey, let me tell you, you gotta love Oneshia too, because they two a kind, or one a kind, however you supposed to say it. But we're all wrapped up in one. And tonight I'm gonna share a little bit with you, which I've already started exactly about around that time. I was helping, my grandmother and my mom. My grandmother had got dementia. I started showing signs of dementia, and it just took me to a whole nother place. And so for me, I was like, ugh, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to deal with it, but I had to turn it into laughter. And that's what I did. So my outlet was to be around my friends, to be around my family, and to ease their mind, because that was stressful enough. Getting into, the comedy, I actually hadn't thought about even going to be on stage. It was just for family and friends. Till one day, a friend of mine, Tamisha Bryson, was working at Shady Oak Baptist Church, and there was another comedian that came into the building wanting to talk about doing a comedy show there. And she said, oh, I have a friend that is hilarious. And that comedian name was Saint Victor Terrell. Most of you do know him because he's from, well, if you don't know, he's from the area in the upstate of Greenville, South Carolina. He's now residing in Atlanta, and he is hilarious. But that's who gave me my start at the church, excuse me, Bride of Christ. And I did 15 minutes that was life changing. And from then on, it's been nonstop. To go on to talk about exactly where the rejection come in. If you know most single parents, you know that it is mainly women that are taking care of the household. I was raised by a single parent, meaning my dad was not in the picture. That was rejection number one. Feeling like, why not me? I was the firstborn, like you don't want me, you don't want to be around me. That took some adjusting to get to. And like most people, we sometimes take a lot of things and we suffer in silence. I never reacted out to it because my mom never made me feel like I couldn't achieve anything. I know most people look at me and they're like, oh, she a big girl. That's a fat girl. I bet you she had a hard time in school. She was bullied. I was not bullied. I actually graduated from Eastside High School, and I was, me and another gentleman, Mark Miller, was voted most likely to have our own talk show. So I didn't have those type of issues, but I will tell you that my insecurity is rejection. You're going to hold on to that word. That is the key word for tonight. Again, rejection. So feeling like my father didn't want me, he wasn't around. Sometimes I would see his family, sometimes I wouldn't. But it builds something up in you for females that are not raised with their dad. Either you can, go out and, want to be with a whole bunch of different people, different men, or you turn, your heart cold. For me, it was the one where you turned your heart cold. I got involved in a relationship with my son's father from the age of 15 till I was 21. It was a very different kind of relationship, not abusive as physical, but mentally, emotionally, and it was spiritually draining. I acted out. I wasn't a bad child, but I was very disobedient to the point where my mom was just like, I'm about to wash my hands of it. So that was a rejection mode for me, but not on her, but because she was like, enough. Like I had done enough, she was tired, she was exhausted. And I ended up going to stay with my grandmother. I graduated from high school, barely graduated from high school, because if it wasn't for my mama and the counselor, Miss Green, I probably wouldn't have graduated because they stayed on me. So I did graduate. By the time I was 18, I had my own place. And of course he stayed with me. And then at the age of 21, here is my son. So my son is now here, and it is time for me to start making difficult decisions about, do I stay or do I go? I felt rejected, from my son's father during the time I was pregnant, because things change when you say, hey, I'm having a baby, and then now he's here and you're starting to feel like, okay, I really want you to be around, and he's doing the same thing that your dad did. He's not there. It was even to the point of where he wanted to get my son, tested to see if he was his. We went through that. And all of this that I'm sharing, I've talked to my son about as well. I'm very transparent when talking with him, because I don't want him to ever feel like, I don't want him to go through of the rejection that I did, because it will if you start hiding things and, not talking about it. So, we did get a DNA test. Of course, he was his, because he was the only person I've ever been with, because again, I was the one that was like, hey, my dad didn't want me. I know nobody else is not going to want me, and I'm just going to turn myself off. So I had to make the decision now, what do I do? And I decided to leave. It was time for me to really be the woman that I was supposed to be for my son. So that's what I did. I decided that I was going to leave. I packed up, we moved, and began to want to, get myself together as far as, reading the word, discovering who I am. So my friend, who's now my business manager, my best friend, Angela Byers, invited me to go to Redemption World Outreach. That's when we were actually on Birdland Drive, when they were on Birdland Drive. And I walked in and I was like, what in the world? Because I thought we was at the club. Because we coming in, they was like, stomp. How many people say stomp? I was like, girl, I ain't come up here to party. I come to get some Jesus. And sure enough, when we walked in, they was like, they was off the chain with it. And I was like, oh, now this is my type of church. I'm all in. So I joined Redemption World Outreach Center, and Apostle Ron Carpenter at the time was the pastor there. And he actually, spoke into my life, many, many years ago when I was the choir director with Pastor Sam Shelton. He told me, he said, you're not in your calling. He said, you are supposed to be making people laugh. He said, you have the gift to changing the atmosphere. And that began to take, I began to take notice of what he was saying. He said, you are the joy of the Lord, and you need to walk in it. And things shifted. So I began to think about, well, how I can do it, and then, like I stated, my friend Tamisha, ran into St. Vic, and it took off from there, with me doing comedy, also trying to be a mother, and work. It was hard some days. It was difficult. I know what it's like to not have power. I know what it's like to have water. My sister will tell you, Nisa Drakeford, one time I was like, I didn't want to tell anybody. I was so embarrassed that my water had been cut off, and she had to bring water over to me just so I can make sure to take a bath and to make sure that I could feed my son, because I didn't want to, ask anyone for help. I didn't want to feel rejected with someone saying no. I didn't want to feel as if, if I go to my mom, she would be like, I told you so, blah, blah, blah. How parents can be when they on nails. I just didn't want to feel that rejection. Keyword, rejection. So I would suffer in silence. I would go without, I would make sure that, my son would have versus, what I would need. Prime example, one day I had to make a decision. Do I eat lunch or do I buy the pull-ups? And I was sitting in the balo and I had $5 to my name, and he had to be at daycare and I had to be at work. And I was sitting in the aisle making a life choice decision. Do I eat or do I buy these pull-ups? And guess what decision I made? I ate. I ate that day because I was like, I ain't buying no more pull-ups. You're going to have to use the restroom. I'm so sorry. So you're supposed to be potty trained anyway, right? By that age, 2.5, 3. So I made a decision. Y'all thought I was getting ready to be serious about that. No, baby, I was going to eat. So I made sure that day that I took that $5 and I ate. And I sent him to school in them little training britches that they be having the babies in. And I said, good luck. It is time for him to start. And guess what? He began to potty train. And it was just another way of me saying, hey, it's sometimes you got to make life choice decisions, whether people think they're good or if they're bad. But I was just like, I'm going to do this. I've been without, so I know what it's like. So to go on, as far as with the comedy, laugh until the pain is gone. When my grandmother fell ill and my mom began to tell us about, her dementia and things that she was going through, she would have certain dreams. She would walk out and leave the house and nobody, she would call the police and say someone's after her. And it was just taking a toll on everybody. But for me, I used laughter. I used some of the things that she went through, and I turned them into jokes. And I used them even in my shows. I met someone in 2010, because mind you, this is a long time that I didn't date anybody. After Jakiva's father, I didn't date anybody because my focus was on him, me, and getting ourselves together. So in the meantime, I didn't date anybody else. But in 2009 is when things began to kind of unravel a little bit for me. I think I became very overwhelmed. And I didn't tell anybody. I was exhausted. I was tired because I've always worked 2 jobs. And so I was working 2 jobs then. And again, not wanting to feel rejected, as being a good mom, I didn't tell anybody. But the lady who I was renting from decided to sell the house. So I had to make a decision on what to do or where to go. So my friend Tracy took me in, and my son stayed with my mom. And again, not wanting to, feel like a burden to anyone. That was one of the hardest decisions I made, because I didn't have really a place to go. And we did that for maybe 6 to 8 months before I met an individual, and I moved in with him. I still had my son at my mom's house, and I moved in with this individual, not knowing that me moving in with him was because I was broken, and I was just a mess. My grandmother was ill. Now I don't really have a place to go, and then I felt overwhelmed. I was exhausted. I'm tired. I just don't know what I want to do. Meanwhile, I'm still trying to make everybody else laugh. So continuing on, that relationship, of course, didn't work out. My grandmother passed, in the process of living with him, going through my grandma's illness, the only way I could cope was to laugh. That birthed out of, the rejection and laughing till the pain is gone came out of it. All of it ties in together. So I've got rejection, my grandmother falling ill. Now what are we going to do? We're going to laugh until the pain is gone. I took stories like the fact of my grandmother coming out of the house in a wig, a wife beater, and nothing else on, saying that she was ready to go. And I said, well, it looked like you ready to go to a strip show, Grandma. And she was like, well, what's that? And I said, a place where you take your clothes off and make money. And she looked at me and said, let's get it. That kind of thing. I use that, even still in my comedy to talk about that, to talk about how she had a baby doll, who she still called her daughter. And I would say, well, make sure you put Sally in the back seat now, because I don't need no ticket. And I say, fasten her up and make sure now you take that blanket off her head, because you're going to have her suffocating. Those kind of things that, I had to do to cope. And when she died in 2011, a piece of me felt like I was just not going to make it. I didn't talk about it. And you could see me, allowing other people to take over, my comedy, my life, and it took my sister to come and talk to me. She said, you got to get you back. Why do you do laugh until the pain is gone? And I was like, again, rejection, not wanting to tell anybody how I was feeling, but I was scared. I was literally scared because the one person that took me in, I'm going to cry. So I'm going to cry baby when I talk about my grandma and my son. The one person that took me in is gone. That's a piece of me. And I felt like God had rejected me because he took the one person that I knew who truly believed in what I wanted to do and who helped me. So I felt rejected by God. And it hurt me to my core. So now my grandmother's gone. This relationship is over. I had to, pray and ask God for guidance. And I was like, well, where do I go now? What do I do? And the relationship, it ended bad, but it wasn't all his fault. And I tell people that because I wasn't in a good place either. But my cousin at the time, Lucretia, she took me in. When she took me in, she allowed me I said, give me 4 months to get back on my feet and do things right. And I did. I got my son and I moved out on my own and I did what I needed to do. even then, even still, feeling, like I couldn't, I couldn't talk to anyone because I didn't want the feeling of being rejected or people saying no. Even at that age, that was hard for me. And even, I think going into comedy, laughing till the pain is gone is what really helped me, get that, to know that it's not just me. I don't feel like, as far as people really reject me, but I just don't like rejection. And I don't think nobody does. And for some, they can handle it. And for me, I couldn't handle it. I couldn't face it. So I would make jokes about how I was feeling about rejection or if I felt that way. And at that time, I really had to do some soul searching. And I was still going to church. I was still doing comedy shows. Well, to move on, I did get myself together. I still went through things. I still went through some financial hardships because as you know, even as married people, you go through hard things. But single moms, honey, ooh, child, it make you think twice about some lives. It had me one time saying, honey, I'm gonna get the gastric, and in 24 hours, I'm coming up at the hospital to go slide down a pole or two, because it had gotten to the point where I was like, now, look at here, it was too much. Again, it was just a lot. But I wanted to make sure that I succeeded, not just for me, but because I have my son looking at me. So I decided, hey, I'm just going to stay into it. I'm going to get it together. I'm going to use what my grandmother put in me. And I am going to make sure that when people hear me and they know that when I laugh, I'm laughing out. I'm laughing out, what I've been going through, and maybe you can use it. I had to refocus what rejection was for me. Because, and I know she's probably going to watch this and probably kill me, but I'm not going to say her name. But, even with friendships, not just, with males, but even with friendships, I had a friend one time that told me she was going on a sabbatical. She sent a message and said she was going on a sabbatical, and she, just basically dropped, left. And it tore me to shreds, to the point I'm back at my sister again. I was like, Nisa, I said, why she don't want to be my friend? I was disturbed. I didn't know why. Why would she do that? Again, feeling rejected. And it did something to me, but we've talked about it now. And the thing that I love about her is that she had to get clear to me. She said, it wasn't you. It wasn't about you. It was about me. She was saying that's what she was saying to me. She had to do this for her. I had to learn that when people sometimes when people decide that they can't be there or be in your world, it's not you, it's them. Maybe they have to work some things out, or maybe the space that you guys are in at that moment is not a space that they can function in. That was life-changing for me as well. Now, I have told her that she can never say the word "es" no more to me ever again, because now you stuck. I sometimes catch myself struggling still with the ones that are close to me, that if they don't call me back at a certain time, I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling, or either I'm texting. And, it's still that thing of rejection, because I want to make sure that, I haven't done anything to you, or if I have, let me apologize. And I really have grown to understand too that sometimes people need their space, because I do that. Sometimes I shut down maybe 2 or 3 times, a month, and it's okay, but I'm still that one that deals with rejection now differently than where I did before. Before I would completely shut you out. Now I'm able to talk about it, and if I have offended you, I try to make sure that I bring correction to my offense. I am a person that they was like, oh, you're so outgoing, but to be honest with you, I'm a truly introvert. 2020 happened, and it really did a number on me. Rejection came back like a beast, and it came back because now I didn't have the outlet of talking about my pain on stage. I didn't have an outlet to actually allow you to feel what I was going through so we could laugh together, and to have so many of my family and friends to leave this place with this awful COVID. It was life-changing for me. It has been some friends that, I have actually gained, and some that I really believe, I wish I could have just grabbed hold of and said, hey, I know that I kind of shut myself off, and that was because it was an adjustment. I was, speaking to a good friend of mine, Oneshia Edens about it. And, she was like, you can only be what you can be, especially for in that moment. And you're trying to stretch yourself to be so much to everybody else, and you're forgetting to be who you need to be for you. And that was hard. That was really hard, because I want to make sure that everybody else is okay. But meanwhile, 2020 really did a number. It did a number on my heart, and my mind. I'm sorry. And still today, just the loss of so many, I didn't want to get back to the place of where I felt like God rejected me, because I'm not doing what He called me to do. And that was to make people laugh until the pain is gone. And so it was really hard. So I said to myself, I have to birth something else, because I'm not being able to be on stage or reach people. And then people wanted to feed me. All of a sudden, I had people coming out of everywhere. You want something to eat? Let me fix this for you. I want to feed you over here. Come here Wednesday. So then we birthed Catch Flavor Not Feelings. And it's actually just on Facebook Live that I do at home with different people where we didn't know, because believe it or not, people in the upstate where we're from and surrounding areas are great cooks. Like, I didn't know it was so many people that can cook. Oh my God. I decided to just start reaching out to people and saying, hey, you're a cook, you're a chef, whatever you call yourself. Okay, I'm going to do the show every Wednesday night. It's called Catch Flavor Not Feelings. And I'm going to taste the food. If I like it, then you know it's good. Because what better way to get your stuff out there than to feed a fat girl? It's not rocket science. Because I'm going to tell you right, wrong, or different. And I didn't expect it to take off as well as it did, to the point where I actually stopped in December to kind of revamp for take the month off to do January, and try to get some stuff into play and see how I could come back in February, maybe March, because it was just like, oh, people was like, hey, I want to come on the show. I really want you to taste this. And that to me, was like, oh my God, you didn't reject me, because I felt like he had forgot about me again. I was like, you taking people that are close to me, because being in this industry of being a comedian and a radio personality, you build so many relationships and friendships. And it doesn't matter if you talk to them one day or if you don't talk to them again for 2 years, you have a connection. So I am connected to a lot of people. And so it seemed like, and I know that, it may have seemed like that every time, it turned around, I was saying something about someone that had left in 2020, and it had even gotten to me. And I felt like, again, the seeping of rejection, like God has rejected me again. He's taking all these people, he's taking people that I love, and people that, I just knew was going to be here. And I was like, he forgot, the stage is my outlet. And so my focus really had to be, on my mindset on what I should do next. How can I, make sure I don't slip back into a place of rejection? And And that was it. Catch Flavor Not Feelings helped me through that time, and still is, because I'm not out yet, from doing different shows, because I ain't gonna lie to you. Now, when the CDC said 3 things that I got, they said, you black, fat, and a woman. Honey, I shut down. I wasn't playing with nobody. No, come over here. No, see me. No, nothing. Honey, I ain't been nowhere but to the grocery store, to the drugstore, and back to the house I go. Honey, I was not playing no games. That's just me. Now, I don't know about y'all and y'all CDC, but my CDC told me that. So that's why I didn't play no games, and I still don't, because I really and genuinely care about the ones that I love, and I don't want to get them sick, and I didn't want them to get me sick, so I didn't play around, out in 2020. It don't look like we're gonna be playing much in 2021 either, but I'm praying for a different outlook, because me and God had to have a Bible study. Either he gonna give me the winning lottery number so I can go be on me an island like Pete Diddy, or either he gonna take this COVID mess on so I can get back out amongst the people, because I am truly a people's comedian. I am real, I am transparent, and that's really where people don't get to see the side much of Oneshia Edens. I'm human. I'm raw, real. I'm uncut. It's just, here it is. I'm an open book. I don't mind sharing my story at all. But when Cousin Carl, as I call him, asked me about Testimony Tuesday, and I was like, sure, I'll do it. And God really began to work on me. And he said, you're going to talk about rejection and what it meant for you, and why you suffer in silence so much of your insecurity of being rejected. And people don't realize that is an insecurity. You can look at it and think your insecurity is, it's the way you look, the way you dress. No, rejection for me is an insecurity that I've struggled with for many years. And just when I thought I had a handle on it, COVID hit, the pandemic hit, and it shut everything around me that I used as an outlet to release myself of even having to feel like I was rejected. I have met someone, out of the pandemic. We're going to see. I don't know, because, I might get back in the world and might reject them. No, I'm kidding. I wouldn't do it. I know the saints starting to pray right now. Don't throw your oil on me yet. I'm just kidding. But you never know how God moves in the way of your insecurities or your fears. And so I'm grateful for that. And I am grateful for the loved ones that are still here. And I'm praying, for the ones that have lost loved ones. But my motto, laugh until the pain is gone, came out of a place of rejection. And that's where the lovely Big O comes from. And that's just who I am. I don't have much more to say besides the fact you can find me on Facebook on the Lovely Big O page. Come on over there, join in. On Instagram, on Lovely Big O. Twitter, I'm on Lovely Big O. And you can listen to me on the weekends on 107.3 Jams. Saturday mornings, you can listen to me from 8 to 10. But right now, you can listen to me from 10 to 3 because I'm filling in. And then on Sundays, for Throwback Sundays, I'm on air on 107.3 Jams from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. So after you get finished with your virtual church and you about to cook that roast, go on and put me on your little Google app. Tell Alexa, tell her to play the little app thing. And go on to 107.3 Jams and listen to me. And you can always find me doing funny things on my Lovely Big O Facebook page. And I'm going to have to call First Lady Shirley Ann and tell her she owe me a pair of lashes and another makeup, because honey girl, I done cried off this good mascara. So you owe me, Miss First Lady Shirley Ann. I'm coming for you to do this makeup and get my lashes together, because I done cried. But thank you guys so much for having me. Godward, man, this is powerful. I just really and truly appreciate you, and I'm asking you to do me a favor. I think we call him Bishop George Watson. That's what I'm gonna call you. Listen, Bishop George Watson, pray for me, and I'm gonna continue to pray for you. You thought I was gonna say something else, didn't you? I wasn't gonna say nothing. So you thought I was gonna be off the chain and end this the wrong way. God's trying to tell us something. God's trying to tell us something. He's trying to tell us something, and this is powerful. This is powerful, allowing people to come and be transparent, be who they really are. So I've enjoyed being Oneshia Edens and telling you why Lovely Big O does what she does. And I just love me. I love you. We's a happy family. And thank you so much for having me. Y'all have a good night.
Hello everyone, I'm back. Wow. Man, what a testimony. What a powerful testimony. This is what Testimony Tuesday is all about. Your testimony just could be the big vehicle to your deliverance. That's why we're having this Testimony Tuesday. And we thank you all for joining us. She was in here crying. I'm around the corner crying. You probably out there crying. But it's okay. It's the vehicle for our deliverance. If any of you are available this Sunday, we would like to invite you to join us on our God Word Ministry. You can go on our God Word Ministry Facebook page and or our YouTube page. We thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we look forward to you joining us next week. Have a blessed evening. Thank you so much. Wow. Testimony Tuesday.